Good morning everyone and welcome to another video. It's a Saturday morning and I thought I'd quickly knock out another video about something I was thinking about recently, about how important it is in my workflow and what a terrible reputation it has in the 3D world, and that's the Boole object. Yes, it does create terrible geometry, and yes, it's a pain in the ass to use, but at the end of the day, polygons are dumb. They're really stupid, and you have to tell it what to do. Otherwise, there's nothing really that can automate the creation of nice polygons, especially when using the Boole tool. So the basic rule is, if you put rubbish geometry in, you're going to get rubbish geometry out. And with the Boole tool, surprisingly, it is actually possible to create nice geometry. I've got a couple of examples here of some my older work, and this is a magazine cover I made for the German publication Digital Production. Very good friends of mine. If they're always at shows here in Europe, if you see them, go along and say hi. Every object in this scene is a result of being modeled with the Boole object, whether it's these holes, the complete holes that hold everything. It's without the Boole object, this scene would be insane to model. And the same with this camera. This front bit, for example, this straight bit and this curvy bit, they're modeled separately and then fused together using the Boole tool. Modeling those together in one piece would be, I wouldn't really like to do that. So back to cinema, and as you can see, it's a mess now. And that's even with high quality switched on. We turn high quality off, and oh Jesus, oh my god, it's even worse. So how can I model with the Boole tool without giving myself a stroke? Well, we're going to go back to something I covered in my very first video, and that's called modeling containment, and that's creating an area to model in. And this is going to basically contain all of these artifacts instead of them spreading across your whole model and ruining your model, but also at the same time showing that it is actually possible that the Boole object can actually help you to model. So I've got this little project I was working on yesterday, and it's actually for a 3D print that someone's asked me to come and model them for, and it's a little diorama. And part of it is this desk, and because of the resolution of 3D printing, I'm a bit restricted on about how much detail I can model into my geometry. So with this desk, all I want to do is to be able to indicate that there are drawers. These 3 stylized handles will do the job perfectly without having to actually go in and model individual drawers. That's ridiculous. So what I've got to do then is, because it's for 3D prints, I've got to create a watertight model, which means actually fusing these cubes, or actually modeling handles, into this big cube here. Now I could do that using traditional modeling tools, but that's a whole lot more work than actually necessary, because the Boole can do it for you. So if I isolate my geometry that I want, hide the rest. So there's my cube. So I've got a cube here, a big one, and I've got in the cloner 3 cubes being cloned up. And again, in a later video, I'll go over how the cloner is massively useful for modeling. It's not just for motion graphics artists, us modelers can use it too. It's hugely powerful. We can create stuff like chains and fences and anything that needs to be cloned or made circular or whatever. It's huge. It's amazing. So it's a really useful modeling tool. But for now, for this, actually, this is probably the first in a series of videos I'm actually going to make about the Boole tool, because it is such a deep and complex tool. I'm only going to touch very briefly on this particular aspect of using the Boole tool, and in later videos we can go into some more advanced stuff. But for now I'm just going to go and show you how the containment principle of modeling can be carried over to our Boole workflow. So there we go. So if I create a Boole first and drop my cube and my handles in, you can see I'm using it in subtraction mode right now, and I'm just left with the result of taking the cube away from the handles. So what I want to do is actually union those two together. And if I go into the object, you can see now that they are in fact now a watertight object with the cubes actually extruding out of the surface, which is exactly what we want. But what we don't want is these long triangles. Even if we are working for 3D printing, the theory goes for any type of modeling. Even if you're doing high quality, high res modeling for photorealistic rendering, you want to get this right, because these long triangles might at the end of the day cause you problems with your lighting and cause nasty artifacts with shading and lighting, especially if using various mapping techniques. So yeah, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get rid of long triangles like that, because it will literally keep me awake at night. So in this case, if I go to my Boole object, I've got my high quality on. Without high quality, it's an even bigger, horrible, oh god, it's, yeah. So if I turn that quickly back on, there it is. So I was talking about containment. Right now, the Boole is being, the operation the Boole is creating is actually being contained to this front polygon. So that's our containment area, which clearly isn't big enough. So this is where we can actually start using modeling tools to just try and contain and try and move all of these artifacts to a specific area, and that's more closer to our actual operation. So if I pick our knife in knife tool, which is K and L on the keyboard, you can see my widget here. I want to basically add some cuts, and I'm going to make a cut here and a cut there, and all of a sudden you can immediately see that my triangles have disappeared from here, and it's being contained, well, everything to do with this handle here is being contained within this face here, which is great, which is an amazing start. So if I work my way down, and very quickly I can see all of my long triangles have gone, and what I'm left with is almost clean geometry. And remember, this is still parametric, this is still actual Boole object, but the one thing I can see straight away is that these are actually quite long edges here and a very sharp angle here, which is also not particularly useful or nice. And I've also got two triangles being created underneath. Why, I don't know, it's pretty random. The Boole algorithm is making it for me. But the good thing is the Boole algorithm has actually created probably, you know, 3/4 of what I want on its own, without only me having to add a couple of cuts. So all I have to do, and this is again, if I'm doing something for the first time, booleing an object I've never booled before, then I'll take some time to experiment with adding cuts here and there, and by doing this I can actually see, without really knowing what I'm doing, the Boole object has actually created perfect geometry for me, and all I've done is just add a few cuts. And this containment method works absolutely perfectly. The Boole algorithm has taken it and said, right, there's my two rectangles, and that must be the obvious topology to build those two together. And that's it really for this first little introduction to Boole. As you can see, it's nothing to be afraid of, and it does give you clean geometry if you just learn how to control it, and it will help you immensely with your modeling workflow. So that's it for now, and I'll have a look about creating some more in this series of Boole videos later. Okay, bye bye.